Everyday English listening.
Topic 1. Out of country.
So, Panay, Jamaica's quite a small country, right?
It is.
What's the population? Not exactly, just more or less.
2.7 million.
Okay, that's pretty small. Do you have a problem with people leaving, like for university or to get better jobs going to other countries?
Yes, a lot of people leave, but I don't know if it's so much a problem because Jamaicans have been migrating for decades now.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people don't know that half of the Jamaican population actually lives outside of Jamaica.
Half?
Yes.
So that means there's like 5.4 million Jamaicans?
Yes.
And only half of them live in Jamaica?
Yes, possibly.
Where do they usually go?
Most Jamaicans that migrate go to America.
Because it's so close.
Yes. And because they have family members there, maybe. And other people go to Canada and the UK, for example.
Do you get a lot of immigration? Do you get many people moving to Jamaica to live from other places?
Recently, there's been an increase in that. People coming from other Caribbean islands.
Okay.
Especially with the situation, the economic situation in Haiti these days. A lot of Haitians actually come over to Jamaica to find work and, you know, just for a better life, really.
Is it very close?
It is very close. It is quite close.
How do they usually get to Jamaica?
By boat.
So...
Which is quite dangerous, but...
Yeah, you hear a lot in history in the last couple of decades of boat people, right? But you don't often hear about Haitian boat people. Usually people getting in boats and trying to get to the States, right?
Yes. But I guess Jamaica is closer, so they go for Jamaica.
Yeah. What kind of jobs do people go for when they get to Jamaica?
Well, a lot of them end up working in bars and restaurants, and yeah, just jobs like that.
I guess there's a lot of tourists in Jamaica.
There are quite a lot of tourists.
So there must be a lot of jobs in the tourism industry.
Yes, always.
Topic 2. Brain drain.
In England, I don't think we have much of a problem with brain drain, but I think we have an internal problem, maybe, like all of the best jobs, or at least the best paying jobs, seem to be in London. So like a lot of people have to move to London if they want to do the job they're interested in, and it just makes London really crowded and expensive because everybody has to live there, it seems.
Sounds like Kingston.
Really?
Yes.
Everybody moves to Kingston?
Everybody's moving from rural areas to Kingston.
What's the population of Kingston now, do you know?
I think it's about 500,000.
500,000. And was it much smaller before?
I think it was, because a lot of people lived out in the countryside because farming was very profitable, maybe some decades ago. But now that, you know, technology is changing everything, people want like office jobs and they want to earn more, so lots of people actually move into the city areas now.
Yeah, I think technology in the near future might actually help to stop that, because you can pretty much do most jobs online from anywhere. It's like, personally, I wouldn't want to live in London. I'd rather live somewhere a little more rural, more peaceful, cheaper, and be able to do my job online. So maybe that's something that'll change in the near future.
Hopefully.
Are you from Kingston?
I am.
Are you actually from the middle of Kingston? I remember you have
No,
a town with a really cool name, right?
I'm not from the middle of Kingston. I'm from just outside city centre.
How far outside city centre?
8 miles from Kingston.
And what's the name of your hometown?
My hometown is called Bull Bay.
Bull Bay?
Yes.
Oh, I thought it was called 8 miles from Kingston.
Sometimes they call it that.
Were you kidding me when you said that?
No, the bigger part of it is called Bull Bay, and then that's subdivided into 8 miles, 9 miles, 7 miles.
So place names outside Kingston are actually named after how far they are from Kingston?
Yes.
That's one of the coolest things I've ever heard. I live 8 miles from Kingston. Where do you live? I live in 12 miles from London. That's a great name.
Or sometimes it's shortened to 8 miles.
Wow, like in Detroit. Maybe that's what it means in the movie.
Topic 3. Body idioms, Part 1.
Okay, Meg, let's talk about idioms related to the body.
Oh.
So we have lots of idioms in English that we use for specific meanings. So to learn these idioms, we'll just talk about them by asking each other questions.
Okay.
Okay, the first one is about dating. So, should a man always foot the bill on a date?
Well, I think I'm a little bit of a traditionalist in that maybe at the beginning or the first date, the man should foot the bill. But after that, if you're in a relationship, it doesn't really seem fair for the man to pay all the time. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, on a date, I feel awkward if I don't pay the bill. So, yeah, the man should foot the bill on the first date. Okay, so the next one related to feet is when you dance, do you have 2 left feet?
Yes, I definitely have 2 left feet. I'm not a good dancer by any means, and I don't really enjoy it, so I think I look a little awkward when I'm dancing. What about you?
Yeah, I definitely have 2 left feet. I just look like a mess on the dance floor. So, and I don't enjoy it, and I think because I'm nervous, I want to get out of there. So, yeah.
Right. I understand your feeling.
Not mine. Okay, so also related to feet is the leg. So, in your city, what costs an arm and a leg?
In my city where I live right now, I feel like fruit costs an arm and a leg. It can be quite expensive, especially if you want fruit that's out of season. But in my hometown in America, you can usually get fruit very cheap. So it feels like it costs an arm and a leg here. What
Right.
about for you?
Yeah, the city I live in now is in Japan, and it's also very expensive. Taxis cost an arm and a leg. So to take a taxi ride is so expensive. In America, where I'm from, I would say healthcare costs an arm and a leg. It's so expensive.
Yes,
Crazy expensive.
right.
You never
Much
want to
more-
get sick. Yeah.
Yes,
Even
yes.
health insurance costs an arm and a leg. It's very, very
Right.
costly.
I agree with that.
Yeah. All right, so let's now talk about feelings. So, is it okay to give people the cold shoulder sometimes?
Well,
Nobody likes the cold shoulder.
right. Nobody likes the cold shoulder. I don't think that we should give people the cold shoulder. However, I have to admit that I have sometimes given a friend or a family member the cold shoulder when I've been upset about something.
Yeah, the whole thing about the cold shoulder is you're actually, you do want them to talk to you. You just want them to
Right.
feel bad.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, it's kind of passive aggressive.
Exactly. Like, I'm mad at you, but I really want you to just see that I'm mad at you, and then
Right.
you give me attention and I'm happy.
Yes, you want to make it clear that you're mad
Yeah, exactly.
by giving the cold shoulder.
Right.
Have you ever given someone the cold shoulder?
Oh, yeah, I can be very moody, so I've definitely given people the cold shoulder. And then I'm embarrassed sometimes afterwards. I'm like, why did I do that? That's so bad.
Yeah, feel a little guilty later.
Yeah. So we're both teachers. Do you ever give a student the cold shoulder?
No, I don't think I would ever give a student the cold shoulder because if they have questions or need help, I want to be able to assist them. So that's a little different, I think. What about you?
Yeah, no, totally. Like, the students give me the cold shoulder, right?
yes.
So you know that something's wrong. But yeah, a teacher can't give students the cold
No,
shoulder.
no, you can't.
It's impossible. Or it shouldn't be done. All right, those were some interesting points.
Topic 4. Body idioms, Part 2.
So, Megan, the last one we were talking about idioms, but we didn't cover them all. Let's go over some more idioms.
Okay.
All right. So, the first one is, what activity is in your blood?
I would say anything with nature is in my blood. So hiking or especially kayaking. I love going kayaking. And so it's hard for me to resist if I'm in a place with beautiful nature. I need to go outside.
So what about baking? Isn't baking kind of just natural for you, that you just love to bake? Isn't it in your blood?
I do also love to bake. Yeah, I guess hiking and baking are both in my blood together, kind of two different activities. So baking, especially when I can make very creative and decorative desserts to share with people. So I don't like to bake for myself, but sharing with others, it's quite enjoyable for me. Do you have any activities or things that are in your blood?
Well, I think one is actually just teaching. I love teaching. I just want to teach all the time. Even if I won the lottery, I'd be a teacher. I just like thinking of lessons, thinking of new ideas for lessons, trying technology with lessons. So even on my free time, I like thinking about it. And another thing is jogging. Even though most people are surprised because I'm a little fat, I'm about 20 pounds overweight, but I run almost every day.
I think I've seen you running before.
Yeah, I literally run every day. Like if I don't run, I feel terrible. Like it's the most relaxing thing for me.
Yeah.
I can't go 2 or 3 days. Well, 2 days maybe, but I can't go 3 or 4 days without running.
So jogging is really in your blood.
Yeah, and I started when I was a kid. You know the movie Forrest Gump where he just starts running?
Right. Yes, yes.
Yeah, that was me as a kid.
Run,
I literally would
Forrest,
just
run.
Yeah, I would just run out of my driveway also in the country and just go running for an hour.
Wow.
Just to run. I thought it was fun.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, it's definitely in my blood. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about feelings. So when you get criticized, do you take it to heart?
I think my first reaction is to take it to heart. So sometimes I might be a little oversensitive when I first get criticized. But after some time passes and I'm able to think about it, usually I can see how that criticism can be useful and I can try to make a change or improve something. Or I can decide that I don't care about that person's opinion. What about you? What do you how do you respond?
Yeah, I used to take things to heart a lot, but as I've gotten older, as many people do, now a lot of it just rolls off my back. As we say, like water off a duck's back. So it doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just realize that everybody has different opinions and don't worry about it.
Yeah, I think that's a good attitude to have.
Yeah. Okay, so the next one also about feelings and opinions. So are you more likely to bite your lip or speak your mind when you disagree with somebody?
I think it depends on the situation. So if I feel like someone else is being treated unfairly or there are some rules that are there for a reason that should be followed, I am more likely to speak my mind. But if it's something personal or just related to me, I might bite my lip to try to keep the peace. What would you do? Bite your lip or speak your mind?
Well, I have a big mouth, so no. So I always speak my mind. So I have a really big mouth. I just never keep it inside. Yeah, it's really hard for me to bite my lip. Yeah, so that can be a bad thing.
But sometimes good.
Yeah. Say it like it is, as they say.
Topic 5. Black Friday.
Okay, hey Todd. So I have a question. I've noticed recently in the UK that this holiday called Black Friday has appeared, and this is a new thing for us. I don't really know why it has appeared, but I think it's American. Shops just give super discounts in November, and people are going crazy for like TVs and stuff. Do you know? Do you have experience with this?
Yeah. unfortunately, I think it's one of our worst exports. Like, I am not a fan of Black Friday. We've had it now probably for 10, 20 years. I can't remember, but it started where the department stores would have these massive sales on Friday, which is the day after Thanksgiving, which is always on a Thursday in November.
Ah, that's the connection. Okay, after Thanksgiving.
Right, and I think it was called Black Friday because that was the day that the stores could show that they had a profit for the year or something like that.
Okay, so it's blatantly all about money.
Oh, totally. And originally, what they would do is they would entice people with really good bargains, but then they kept on ratcheting up the bargains. So now they have these really, really low teaser products. Like they only offer 10 TVs or something like that for like $20.
Oh, so it's like a really limited supply of really good deals.
And so then what you do is you get these huge crowds that converge on these stores, and then they open the doors and people rush in, and it literally is a free-for-all. And
Yeah.
you have fights, and it's so crazy.
I've seen that. I've seen videos and clips, and it started happening in the UK now, and I can't believe it, how people can be so greedy.
And especially what's bothersome is that you're with your family on a holiday, you're having a good time, and then like you go to war practically. You know what I mean?
Yeah, with strangers.
Yeah.
Or your neighbor even. Doesn't matter who it is, just fight them over a cheap TV.
I mean, I'm proud to say I've never been to a Black Friday.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Me neither.
So I guess that's hypocritical for me to say that. Because, since I've never actually been to a Black Friday, I've only seen it, but I just don't like going to shopping malls and to like department stores very much, or big box stores. I'm just not a shopper.
So you prefer online shopping?
I just prefer not shopping at all. Like I don't care like what I dress or how I dress, so I like buy my clothes at a supermarket.
Okay.
I know I'm not the most fashionable person, but as for Black Friday, I think a lot of times parents want to get stuff for their kids. They want to get that special gift, maybe. I think that's what attracts a lot of the crowds.
Yeah, it is, once Thanksgiving is over, then it's the build-up to Christmas. So, of course, there's the stress of preparing everything in time for that, and it's hard to resist really good bargains, I guess, if you're trying to be careful with your money, you're trying to be sensible, or there's those gifts that, your child really wants. So I can understand people feel a lot of pressure to do that.
I mean, some of the stores look like they've been through a hurricane after like the crowds go through.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It does. It sounds awful. Doesn't sound like my idea of a good time.
No. Now, there is one option, though. If you don't want to face the crowds and all the hysteria, you can do what's called Cyber Monday.
Okay.
Do you have Cyber Monday?
I'm not. No, I'm not familiar with it.
So Cyber Monday, I think it's the Monday after Black Friday.
Okay.
And you just get all the the deals online over a 24-hour period.
Okay. Is this like remainder leftover stock, or is this like a new?
No, this is just the online stuff. So I think it's just the Amazons and all the online stores that they want to have their deals that people can buy.
They wanted a piece of the action, basically.
Yeah. Exactly. So they can make it super, super.
It's too much.
Yeah.
It is all too much.
I know. We should have like, I don't know, cut back on spending. But if you cut back on spending, then you're hurting the economy, right? So.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
Topic 6. Giving gifts.
Do you feel pressure to get certain gifts for your kids?
Sometimes. Thankfully, there's not too much pressure where we live right now, so I don't feel too much pressure, and I also work hard to fight against it.
Yeah.
Every year I tell myself, okay, they're so young, we have so much stuff already, we don't need to go crazy with gifts, just get one or two, and we do that, and then last minute it's like, oh no, they don't have many gifts, and then we end up buying a few more, so we're not as bad as we could be. There's not as much pressure as there could be.
Yeah. I'm lucky in that I live in Japan. As you know, we both teach in Japan, and so my family's in America, so Christmas usually always falls like the day after we finish school. So I can't actually make it home in time for Christmas.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. Because then I don't have to buy gifts for everybody.
Yeah.
And I don't mind, it's not the money. I don't mind spending the money, but I really don't like shopping. And I hate I have a huge family, huge.
Right.
So the thought of having to buy 20 different gifts.
It's a lot of gifts.
Oh, and it's not the cost either. It's just like I'm too lazy to think of, what sweater can I buy this person?
Yeah.
Or it's not my thing. And I don't want gifts, and I don't want to give gifts. You know?
Well, yeah, that's fair.
How about you? Are gifts still something special for you?
I'm not very good at it. I'm trying to improve because I know a well thought out gift can mean the world to someone. So I'm trying to improve. But yeah, I'm not the best. I don't mind. I'm not like I won't fall out with someone if they don't get me a present. I'm not like that.
Well, I like getting people birthday gifts. I have to admit that. Like birthday gifts I like. Mm-hmm. It's just like having to buy 20, 30 gifts within a 1 month period to me just seems obscene.
Yeah, I know. And that's the pressure that people are under because that's the way it is,
right.
Isn't it? And it's always the mothers of the family that have to do it as well, right? They're the ones that have to make sure they buy all the gifts for everyone.
Yeah.
So they feel they have so much to do, that mental list of everything and everyone they have to buy for. So of course they have to organize it. So they maybe start earlier, right? And taking advantage of things like Black Friday and Cyber Monday are manageable ways to deal with that load.
You've changed my mind. I was very anti both, but now that you put it that way, maybe you're right.
I don't know.
Let's go.
Topic 7. Pests and predators.
So, Rachel, you are from New Zealand, correct?
Yes, that's right.
Now, when I lived in London many years ago, my roommate was from New Zealand, really nice guy, and he had the coolest job. He would ride around a motorbike in New Zealand, in the bush, as he called it, the wild, as we say.
The bush.
And his job was to just kill invasive species. That was his job. Just go out and plant traps for rabbits and...
Yes, that's right. Actually, I have a friend who does that now.
Really?
Yes.
So it's that big of a problem. You have to
It's a huge problem, yeah.
Really? So what animals are a problem?
Rabbits, like you mentioned. Possums are a big problem in the bush because they eat a lot of the native plants.
We have possums too in America, Northern California, and they are disgusting. I love animals, but they're one animal I don't like. They're nasty.
There is a big possum hunt in many areas every year, and they're starting to sell the pelts as fur because it's not a protected species, so there's no limits on how much you can catch and how much fur you can sell.
Yeah, and they often have rabies, right? At least in the States, we have to be very careful of them.
No, we don't have rabies in New Zealand.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yes, so...
Yeah,
no
we have
animals
crazy
have
stories
rabies.
of possums or raccoons having rabies. And so when you see one, they tell you, do not touch it, don't go near it,
we don't have that
because if you get bit, you're not good. And I got bit by a dog when I was in Thailand and had to get the rabies shot, and it was not fun.
Oh, that sounds awful.
Yeah, and then luckily for me, I went in to get the shot because I didn't know really about rabies. I wasn't educated about it, and I thought, well, the dog just bit me a little bit, but I better go and check. And then the doctor was like, oh, no, it can kill you. You better get it checked out.
No,
So
this is one of the reasons we have very strict import laws in New Zealand, because we've seen the damage that can be done, and we're very strict now. And rabies is one of the diseases that we don't have and are very keen not to ever have.
Yeah, you hope so. So you have a problem with possums and with rabbits. Anything
Rabbits
else?
on farms. There's also wild deer and boar in the forests who also do a lot of damage, and stray cats and dogs as well also kill a lot of native species. There's no native animals in New Zealand. The only mammals that are native to New Zealand are dolphins and bats. So there's no natural hunters except for hawks. So a lot of the birds have lost the ability to fly, and they nest on the ground. So
Oh,
they're
wow.
enormously vulnerable to predator species like cats and dogs. They've almost completely decimated many bird species. So that's why there are hunters throughout New Zealand who are basically given free rein to shoot whatever they can find because they are so destructive to the natural environment.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere that you have some campaign to have like no predators by a certain year, right? Like a new thing in New Zealand.
I haven't heard of that, but I wouldn't be surprised. I think that's always been a goal.
I think that it was in the news. I'll have to check, so I could be wrong, but I think it was 2050 is the goal of the government to have no predators.
That would be amazing.
And they say the big one is dogs and cats. That's like the
Cats are a
sticking
huge
point.
one, yeah, they're starting to become much stricter about controlling cats and dogs now, keeping cats inside and keeping dogs leashed,
Yeah.
so that they don't run off into the bush and cause a lot of problems.
But dogs, I think, are more domesticated. They're probably not as dangerous. But cats are basically, they're not really that domesticated. They're still natural hunters.
Yeah, we keep them with us to hunt, pests like mice who live with us. Yeah, so they catch a lot of birds. But with the birds nesting on the ground and unable to fly, it's very easy for the dogs to kill them as well.
Oh, I see.
So,
And dogs
all of
just can be kind of naughty sometimes.
heck yes. And they run off.
Wow. So what do you think? Do you think your country can achieve this goal, no predators, by 2050?
It sounds very challenging. I think at present only some of the offshore islands are completely pest-free. No predators. Yeah, that's not quite the same as no pests. That's because pests also include things like rabbits and possums and deer, and that don't eat the native species. So maybe just predator-free might be a bit more achievable, I think.
Topic 8. Birds don't fly.
So Rachel, you said that in your home country of New Zealand, there's lots of birds that don't fly?
Yes, there are a lot of birds that don't fly.
Wow, see, I only knew of the kiwi and, of course, the penguin, but I didn't know of other ones. So first, the kiwi doesn't
Yes,
fly,
that's
right?
the famous one.
Right.
They don't fly, but they can run very fast. I've
Right.
seen them.
And, like, are the kiwi all over? Like, are there different types of kiwi?
There are several different varieties. They're very rare, though, and they're nocturnal. So
Oh, nocturnal.
I'd say most New Zealanders have never seen one in the wild. I've only seen them in kiwi parks.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You
Okay.
don't see them.
So I thought they'd be like kangaroos in Australia or something. You
No,
go
they're
and there's
very,
one.
Very precious and very rare.
Oh, wow.
One that you see more often is a pukeko, which is it looks a little bit like a stork, I suppose, except it's dark blue.
What's it called?
Pukeko.
Pukeko.
Yeah, and they're a lot more common. And takahe is another one.
So the first one, though,
You can
let's
see
go-
them along the side of the road when you're driving through the countryside. They're much more common.
So this pukeko, does it fly?
No, they don't fly.
Really? And it's like
Yeah.
a stork. It has long legs.
It has quite long legs, yeah. It's a very cute little bird, but it's very dark.
How tall is it? Like up to your knee, up to your hip?
Maybe up to your knees.
Really?
Cute little bird.
That's awesome. And so what was the other one you mentioned?
Takahe, it's a very similar looking to that one. It's a little different, difficult to tell apart.
Really? And it's also like kind of dark bluish?
Yeah. Another one's a kakapo, is a very famous one. It's New Zealand's flightless green parrot. It's kind of like a large fat parrot that lives on the ground.
Really?
It's extremely rare. I'm not sure what the numbers are now, but around 20 years ago, I think there were only 45 left.
Oh, that is
Extremely
rare.
So
Wow.
there's an intensive breeding program for them. And
Yeah.
of course, nobody's seen those in the wild.
Wow, yeah, you have to be careful to go like the way of the
They do.
Tasmanian tiger.
They breed and they nest on the ground. They lay their eggs on the ground, so they're very vulnerable to introduced predators, to any animals.
Yeah, I know that, like, you don't have snakes, but I know that snakes, when they got into Guam, like, decimated the bird population.
Yeah, that's what would happen, and that's why New Zealand immigration or customs is very strict about what kind of animals you can bring in. We don't even have snakes in zoos.
That's smart. Yeah.
Michael Jackson famously came to New Zealand in the 1980s and wanted to bring his pet snake with him, and he wasn't allowed to.
Oh, good on you.
There were no exceptions to that rule.
Are there any other birds that don't fly? Like, for example, do you have penguins?
Oh, yes, there's lots of penguins in New Zealand.
In the south, right?
Yeah, in the south. Oh, they come up to the north sometimes.
Really?
Occasionally you see them.
That far north?
Yeah, occasionally. The big colonies are down south.
Oh, that's amazing. How cool. Yeah. Any other birds that don't fly?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head. I'll have to look it up on the internet.
No, that's quite a few. That's
they are quite
so
a few.
nice. Yeah, that's interesting.
The most famous was the moa, of course.
The moa?
Which is an ostrich-sized bird.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but they were killed off before Europeans arrived in New Zealand.
Oh, easy hunting.
They were easy hunting, yeah.
Yeah.
And big feast, yeah.
It's funny how when you go to a place, you really want to see like a local animal. So last year I went to the Middle East. I went to UAE and Oman, and I just wanted to see a camel.
Camels,
I wanted
yeah.
to see a camel so bad. And I thought, like, I had
Everyone
a feeling
drives
that they'd be on the
Mercedes
side of
these
the
days.
road, there'd be a camel. And I was actually kind of going out in the countryside. I wasn't just in the city. And I never saw a camel. And I was asking people to work there. They're like, oh, yeah, you do see them. But I was just so heartbroken that I never saw a camel.
Oh.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite animals. I just think they look so cool. So when I go to New Zealand, I have to make sure I see a kiwi.
But you'll have to go to the Kiwi house.
The kiwi house?
Kiwi house, it's cool. Or just look up zoos.
And they got them?
Yep, they got them there. But you won't see them just driving around.
Topic 9. Throwing things out.
So I'm here with Rachel, and we were talking about expiration date. So you were saying that you throw out your clothes regularly.
Mm-hmm. Fairly regularly.
Do you donate them or just toss them?
I put them in the recycling.
Oh, there you go.
And hope they're going to be remade into something else.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I always take it out on the day that they'll say that they'll pick up clothes.
The reason for that is because they usually throw clothes out when they've started to look a bit shabby. So I don't think anyone else wants to wear them by that stage.
What about furniture? How often do you try to get new furniture?
Almost never. That's something I don't. Yeah, I'll put up with what I've got.
Yeah.
It seems like such a waste to throw out such large things.
Yeah, but you never want to replace the couch or the chair.
The couch has been replaced 3 or 4 times.
Right.
That's a big one, but we've still got the same kitchen table. We did get some new chairs.
Yeah, I've never been a big furniture guy, but when I see something that's really cheap, like I would never buy new furniture. I'm always amazed, like who buys new furniture? Because when you walk by a store and you see the furniture, it's so expensive. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to sound really cheap, but it's like, I'm like, wow, why would you pay hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars for that when you can just buy one used or whatever for $10 or $20?
Definitely a used furniture person now. When we moved into our house, we did go to a furniture store and bought all new furniture. It's easy at the start and everything looks new and it's kind of nice. But I almost exclusively buy secondhand furniture now. You can, depending on which store you go to, you can get some really good bargains on some beautiful old antique that look really nice in your house and cost a fraction of something new.
Yeah, that's why you like anything that's made with metal or wood, because usually you think it's going to age well.
Yes.
Plastic, not so much.
No, I've definitely sworn off plastic. I think plastic's a fill-in if you need something quickly.
Yeah.
And cheaply, but definitely don't like to buy plastic now.
So what about like electronic goods, like getting a new TV, new refrigerator, stuff like that? Like how often do you buy?
We just wait until that breaks down. That's a pretty easy one.
What about the TV though? The TVs don't break down; they go on forever. Like how often do you think, oh, I want a new TV, I want a new, nicer TV?
Our last TV broke.
It did?
Well, we had lightning hit the house.
Oh.
And we lost several electronic items. We lost a keyboard and a computer. I think we lost 2 we had 3 hard disk DVD players.
So it was an electrical surge that like fried all the circuits.
It fried the house, yeah, pretty much.
Wow. Mm-hmm. I did not know that could happen.
Yeah.
Topic 10. Expiration dates.
So Rachel, I thought we would talk a little bit about items and their shelf life. Like how long will you keep something? For example, like a book or like clothing. Because like yesterday, I was talking to my students, and they were surprised when I admitted that the shirt I was wearing I had for over 10 years. Now they're young; they can't imagine that.
No, that might be a function of being young.
Right,
Because
exactly.
their clothes of 10 years ago are obviously too small.
Yeah.
Depends
Do
on
you
the
like to keep your
clothes.
clothes a long time?
If I really like them, I might.
Yeah. How often do you toss out your clothes?
I toss out clothes once or twice a year. I'll go through my wardrobe and throw out things that are too small or have started to look shabby. But there are other things that I just keep year after year after year. Probably things people don't see as often, like pajamas, might last a little longer.
Yeah.
Some people advise that if you haven't worn something for 6 months, you should throw it out. But that seems to me to be not logical, given that there are 4 seasons and they last a year. If you
Yeah.
haven't worn something for a year, maybe you should consider throwing it out. But yeah, definitely at the start of the season, not in the opposite season.
Right.
You have to think about the weather.
Yeah, well, what about food? So we live in Japan. We're both teachers in Japan. So one thing I often wonder about is the sashimi and the sushi, the raw fish. Like how long can you keep it before you eat it? They say you're supposed to have it that night, but I sometimes eat it the next morning or
Yes.
even for lunch.
With fish, as well as other meats, I think it's very easy to tell because you can tell by the smell whether something's good or not. I actually think the rice is more dangerous.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it will grow bacteria. Because it's been warm, it'll grow bacteria easily at room temperature. The rice is the part you need to be careful about.
Well, what about like other foods? Like, are you somebody who's really strict about the expiration date or?
I'm not. I think the expiration date on most products errs on the side of safety. Another thing is people confuse the best by date with the expiry date.
Right.
The best by date is just about freshness, flavor. For example,
and that's the
with
date
spices,
they put on the package in the
that's
store.
often the date that people
Sell
go by.
yeah.
Yeah, sell by and best by. For example, spices might have a best by date. After that, they might clump a little, they might lose a little flavor, but they're not dangerous.
You can still eat it.
You can still use them, yeah.
My
So it's
rule
hard
is
to
always
tell.
3 days. So I'll eat anything if it's within, except for meat maybe, but anything is if it's within 3 days of the expiration date or the sell by date on the stores.
I think that matters. Yeah, to me, it makes an enormous difference what it is. For example, moyashi, which is bean sprouts. I'll eat them on the day or the day after, but not after that. They start getting bad really quickly. But for example, a jar of pickles, that's going to last much longer than the 3 days after.
I think the big one, I guess you're right about time, is dairy. The one, milk is obvious because milk you can smell.
Yes, but on the other hand, it just turns into yogurt.
Right, yeah. So that's the other one is yogurt. So yogurt, I'll see it in the fridge and I'm like, how long can I keep this? Like sometimes it'll be past the expiration date, but it smells fine. It looks fine.
Well, milk, yogurt is soured milk. So it's difficult to say at which point it sours because it's already sour.
Yeah, and cheese too lasts forever, it seems like.
Pretty much. You can see the mold on cheese.
Yeah. So what about if you see bread and there's a little mold on the bread?
No.
Are you old school? You cut around it?
I used to cut the mold off cheese, but having learned more about visible mold is only a small amount of it, and parts of mold you can't see are branching into the food.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so that makes it a little dodgier. So no, I probably wouldn't eat bread that had any kind of mold on it. And I'm dodgy about cheese too. That's got the wrong sort of mold on it.
Right.
It's the right sort of mold, like a blue cheese, and that's fine.
Right. And I should clarify here, neither of us are medical professionals. So
don't take this advice.
But we're just talking about our own habits here. So what about juice? What about juice? Like how long can you keep juice? Can you smell when juice is bad?
I don't usually buy juice, so I don't really know.
Oh. Yeah.
Maybe you can smell it.
Maybe you can smell it.
Yeah, I'd probably toss juice because I'm not experienced enough with it, obviously, to have made my own mind up about it. So I'd probably go by the date for that one.
What's interesting is when you see some foods that you think would last forever, but actually they won't. They just have an expiration date that's way in the future, like canned goods.
Yes,
Sometimes it's surprising when you're like, oh, there actually is an expiration date on there,
there is.
but it's way in the future.
Way in the future. As long as the can's not dented, I think.
Or rusty, right?
The rule for that, yeah.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting topic.
Topic 11. Bustling Bangkok.
So I'm here with Natalie, and she is working in Bangkok. And how long have you been here?
I've been here about 10 months.
See, it's interesting to hear your thoughts on Bangkok because I was an English teacher here over 20 years ago, from 1994 to 1998. It was my first teaching job. And Bangkok was very different then than it is now. Now I would say it's a pretty amazing cosmopolitan city. Would you agree?
Yeah, that's part of the reason why we chose it. So my partner and I had traveled for about a year and a half, and we said, okay, now let's live somewhere. So we decided to move to Bangkok because it has this great balance of, you're still in Southeast Asia, so it still feels like it's developing, it's on its way to something, perhaps what we see Japan or China as now, but it's not quite there yet. And also that you can get all the modern conveniences that you could possibly need here in this city. It's really well connected, so it feels like a regular metropolitan city, but at the same time, it still feels like you're living in Southeast Asia, which is really cool.
It has done an amazing job of becoming this just bustling, beautiful, cosmopolitan paradise. I mean, it's the skyline was not here 25 years ago. So all the buildings that they've built are just amazing. So now it almost rivals Hong Kong or New York. And years ago, they didn't have that. So in terms of the city planning, it's just phenomenal what they've done. But also, like you said, they've kept the kind of original cultural vibe to the city, which is pretty amazing.
So you have different neighborhoods that you can live in. So there is the main artery of Bangkok is the SkyTrain. So we call it the BTS. And this is I guess what they would consider to be high-speed transportation rail system that goes right through the heart of Bangkok. So a lot of the neighborhoods that I would talk about are kind of populated around the SkyTrain. So you will have pockets of Bangkok that will feel very Thai. So they will be further out on the BTS SkyTrain. But you can still get to the heart of Bangkok where all the malls are, or perhaps where all the business areas are within, 20 minutes. And obviously with it being in Southeast Asia, it's still really cheap. So you can go way out into the areas that are super Thai. You get amazing street food. You'll see very few tourists. And then you can, within 20 minutes, you can be in, say, the Japanese area, which is more expensive, and it has a lot of Western restaurants, and obviously Japanese restaurants. 20 minutes later, you can be in the tourist center, where you'll see all the malls. So it's very accessible.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting. Have you been to Dubai?
I haven't, no.
So what's interesting is Dubai and Bangkok have almost the exact same developmental model. So what they did is they built a nice train line, an elevated train, and then along the train they built a bunch of shopping malls and condos, and they built a world-class airport and made it a hub for travel to other areas. Yeah. And even though Dubai and Bangkok they're so different culturally, it's quite interesting to see that economically they're kind of thriving on the same model. They get lots of international travel. Yeah. They have a lot of things for tourists to do when they go there. They get a lot of people now that want to retire or maybe live there.
Yeah. The more people that I speak to about that, they're saying the same thing. Bangkok is almost the center of Southeast Asia. You can get pretty much anywhere in the world on a long-haul flight. So you can fly to the UK directly from Bangkok, which is insane. You don't have to stop anywhere. If you want to go to Vietnam from somewhere in the West, you have to stop in Bangkok for the most part. There are very few direct flights. And you can get to the likes of Japan and China within just 5 or 6 hours.
Topic 12. Street food.
So, Natalie, you were saying that you are a foodie.
I'm a huge foodie.
and you are now in Bangkok. And Bangkok is famous for its street stall food, but that's changing.
It is. So this is probably 70% of the reason why I moved to Bangkok, because of the street food. So yeah, the street food scene is changing. It seems like they're trying to take the model that's similar to the hawker centres in Singapore. So the hawker centres is basically where all of the street food carts that used to be on the corner of a street, what we call entire soy, they've been moved into one big centre, so almost like a deli centre. And I think it's in an effort to keep things clean, and to just have a hub where you get all of your food, and it's easier for tourists. So that's happening a lot. There are pockets of areas in Bangkok where you can still get amazing street food on the street, particularly in the business districts like Silom. I think they will struggle to get their street food vendors off the streets because it is so convenient for people when they leave work. It's right near the elevated SkyTrain that we talked about earlier. People can just grab some noodles. It's under $1, get the dinner, or perhaps they get the food to take away and then they go home. And these places are always really busy. There's usually a line to get in one of these street food places. And they have little seats, little plastic chairs outside, and little metal tables, so you can eat there, but it is on the street. So there are areas now where you can get amazing street food, but it's not on the street anymore. It's in one of these small hawker-like centres.
Yeah, that's too bad, because I, ate street food going way back to, 25 years ago when I first moved here, and it's just the best. I never got sick eating street food for all my years. It's always clean and safe. And one of the things I really like about the street stall vendors that people don't talk about is that they're always really nice. And I have a theory about this. The people that own the street stalls, often that's their own small little business. So they're the one that's in control of it. And I think mentally they're just happier people, rather than if you go in some restaurant, the service can be quite poor, because that person is kind of in servitude. They're not really in control of their little economic endeavor. So I love the street stall people because they're just so positive. Yeah,
it does feel more entrepreneurial. And these guys, something that I love about the street food as well, just while we're on the topic, is you walk down the street in Bangkok and there are all kinds of noises, and there's colour everywhere. All the cars, the taxis are super colourful. They're really famous for that. But then you will smell something, right? You will smell something being grilled, or you'll smell somtum. So this is where they have the pestle and mortar, and they're mixing up papaya and salad and garlic, and the smell of fried garlic. I feel like if you want to sell something, just blast the smell of fried garlic out. You will get people in. And that's one of the things that I love about the street food here. And as you say, it is really cheap. And the thing is these people have most likely been preparing this food since the night before, right? So there is a huge misconception about street food being dirty, and obviously, there are going to be places that have dirty street food, and it might make you sick. But the chances are these people have been preparing these ingredients at home, and then they've brought them onto their street food cart, and they're selling them all day. So they really care about what they're selling, and people go back time and time again. And I can say that because I do, and I wouldn't go back if these people didn't make amazing food.
Yeah, and if people were sick, right, then they would lose their business.
Yeah.
It's almost illogical, because when people think that, the street food is dirty, you can see the kitchen. You literally are sitting next to the cook in the kitchen. You can see everything they're doing right in front of you. Yeah. Whereas in a restaurant, you have no idea what goes on in the kitchen.
Yeah. So I can give you some advice for street food. Don't be scared of street food. Try it. But there are a couple of things that you can do to make it a little bit safer. So if you're getting something that's grilled, so we have something here called muping, which is pork, and it has a kind of like a sauce on the top of it. It's like coconut and spices. It's delicious. And you'll get it for like 10 baht. Sometimes it'll be sat out, and it might have been out for a while, so maybe you're worried about dirt on it, or bacteria growing on it, or flies getting on it, something like that. The grill is usually on the cart, so ask the street food vendor, or just pick it up yourself and put it back on the grill. So the flames will kill off any bacteria that's on there. So put it on there for a couple of minutes, as long as you need to be happy. And then you can eat it, and it'll be roasting hot, but you can be assured that there's nothing in it.
And they often do that themselves.
Yeah.
Well, even if you don't ask, I've always wondered that they'll just flop it back on there really fast. Another thing that I love that they do in Thailand too is if you go to, it's similar to the streets food. It's the hole in the wall place where literally it's like a room with no door, and it's kind of an outdoor restaurant.
Yeah.
and they have the hot water bucket, and you dip your spoon and fork in the hot water bucket. It's the most brilliant idea. It's not something that almost restaurants should do.
Yeah,
you know what I
it's
mean?
ingenious.
Yeah, I love that. It's like, okay, let's just sterilize it real fast.
Yeah, so the idea is that the water is usually hot or boiling, so it will kill any bacteria that's on it. If you go to a street food place and perhaps they don't have that, but they do have like a table and chairs set up, when you get a box usually, or like a rectangular metal box, and that has your chopsticks in it, or it has your spoon in it, or your knife. We don't use knives in Thailand. It would be a spoon and a fork. Just use a napkin, wipe it down before you use it. They will have cleaned it before. I've never had any issue, but if you're not sure, just wipe it down with a napkin. There are always napkins.
Yeah, it's so clever.